Hey, what's up, guys? This is DarkM on the mic, and this is my personal review on the movie Phoenix Wright, the live action movie that was released this year. And this is the first time I'm doing something of this sort, but I felt it'd be kind of cool to try, and it's something that I personally am a fan of. I'm a fan of Phoenix Wright and the Phoenix Wright games, so I just wanted to give my personal thoughts on it. And if you're, in case you're curious about how the movie was, then maybe I can give you a little bit of insight before you watch it. Um, I'm not really sure how long this is gonna be. I'm gonna try to edit it as best I can, and I will try to refrain. I will refrain from leaving too many spoilers. Although to be fair, since obviously this movie was based off of the game, if you've played the game, which is pretty much the only way you would know what Phoenix Wright is, you probably already know what's going to happen anyway. So just keep that in mind. And yeah, here we go. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the fact that the tone of the movie. I want to talk about the overall tone of the movie. The tone of the movie was very dark and very gritty, very serious, and very dramatic. Um, a lot of things that I think about when I think about Phoenix Wright is, it's yeah, it's about an attorney that, fights for truth and justice and stuff like that. But there's a lot of usual lighthearted comedy, there's a lot of levity in a lot of the scenes, a lot of comic relief characters and stuff like that, and a lot of zany antics. This movie chose to go a more serious path, probably due to the reason that they wanted this movie to probably appeal to as many people as possible. And they were banking on the fact that there's going to be a lot of people going into this movie that didn't know that much about the game, didn't know much about the characters, which kind of confuses me in later points, which I'll get to later. But they wanted to make this more of like a murder mystery kind of movie and not like a direct video game, tribute movie. But they do come close, I guess. But yeah, they wanted it to be easier to swallow for the general audience, I believe, and so that's why they kind of changed the tone from the game to the movie, and they made it a lot more serious, a lot more darker. And speaking of darker, a lot of the characters in this movie uh, are a lot darker than their game counterparts. And the biggest example I can give is Maya Fey. And as you all know, Maya is Phoenix Wright's assistant. She helps him in all the cases in the beginning of the games and stuff like that. And when it comes to like the comic relief part, she kind of plays a big part in that. She pokes fun at Nick Phoenix Wright a lot. She pokes fun at him. She has all these really funny moments where she does things and she freaks out and gets embarrassed or whatever. She gets surprised and stuff like that. But they really uh, suppressed that part of her character and made it more of she was more of a tragic character where obviously, spoiler alert, duh, her sister dies, her older sister dies, which pretty much propels Phoenix right into the whole, all the cases that he goes through in game one and stuff like that. So she becomes more of a tragic character, and she's a lot more bitter and a lot more depressed, a lot more serious. I think that's a really good word to use. She's a lot more serious, and I was personally a little disappointed by that. I feel that part of her character was the fact that she was kind of like while she was serious when she had to be, she was also the real unpredictable, bubbly assistant that, kind of played off of how Phoenix Wright reacted and to certain things and stuff like that. But yeah, that was probably one of the biggest character changes that I noticed. As far as personality and stuff like that. The other characters more or less the same. Phoenix Wright is Phoenix Wright. He's that noble attorney that fights for truth and justice and will never leave a friend and stuff like that. So that you don't have to worry about that. Miles Edgeworth, he's still a badass. I will say that. He's still really cool. And the other characters are their own characters. They stay pretty. A lot of the sub characters are more or less accurate as to what they were in the game, and they fulfill their roles, I think, in the movie. None of them were overplayed, I think, or underplayed. Maybe a couple that might have been overplayed, but I don't want to get too into that. That's kind of picking at straws at that point. But so yeah, that's that part. The next thing that I want to talk about is how the characters and everything looked in the movie, like the visuals. The visuals for this movie, pretty spot on to the game. Like I said, even though they were trying to make the story easier to understand for the general audience, so they made it a little bit more serious, like a actual movie, murder case movie with a real simple plot. The characters' looks and everything is very, very close to the game. You can really tell like how a lot of the hairdos and stuff like that, especially because like in anime, the hair and stuff like the head, all the features in the head, very distinct, very over the top. They really went out of their way to over accentuate like the hairdos for like Larry Butts and that one witness that had the camera at the lake and stuff like that. You see this big poofy fro. It's clearly you know not to be taken super seriously in that sense that that's not what a woman's hair would normally look like. It wouldn't be that huge, so it's paying tribute to the game and to the fans and stuff like that. So I think that appearance wise they nailed most of it. There were a couple things that I found didn't really match as well, and I found a little confusing. One of them was Detective Gumshoe. He didn't really look like how I expected him to look. I thought he would be a little bit older because in the game he's like all kind of scruffy, and he kind of looks like he got every time you see him it kind of looks like he got like run over in traffic or something. He's all like his coat's all dirty, and he has like I don't know if he had a cigarette in his mouth or anything, but he has like that patch on his cheek, and he has like the little uh like he hasn't shaven in a long time. He has like all those hairs sticking out and stuff like that. And he looks just real old and tired. I guess that's a good way to put it. In this movie, the person they found to play Gumshoe looked a lot younger and a lot fresher. He had a lot more energy, I think. But that could just be my opinion. But I think that if you watch the movie and you see what he looks like, I just thought that it didn't really match as accurately, considering how far they went to find accurate lookalikes for some of the other characters. I thought it was a little out of place. Let's see. Okay, so let's get into the basic story and everything. So basically, the story of the movie is the first game, and in a nutshell, it was a couple of the cases they just they just burned through them in like literally like 30 seconds to a minute, and the other cases take up the vast majority of the movie. And I'm not going to spoil it and say which cases. Some of it might be obvious to you because if you played the game which cases are more important and stuff like that. So we'll just leave it at that. But yeah, that's basically going to be the story. That's going to be just moving through the cases, some very fast, and some will take a majority of the plot up, and you'll see how it plays out from there. I like that. I think it's fine. One of the things that does bug me about the fact that they zip through some of the cases really quick is because a lot of that is how you get to know some of the characters, especially early in the if you play through the game and you watch like the first couple of cases. That's where you kind of get all the character development and stuff like that, especially for Phoenix Wright and for like Edgeworth and stuff like that. And I think a lot of it felt kind of on the rush side. I was a little disappointed in that, but I guess they were just worried about time and stuff like that. They really wanted to focus on other parts of the movie. They wanted to focus on those major cases and stuff like that, which kind of confuses me because obviously they want this to appeal to the general audience, but at the same time they're trying to appeal to the fans as well. And the way that the character development in the beginning is brought out, it's almost assuming that you've played the games, that you're a fan of the game, and you know the characters. It's banking on the fact that they don't have to explain everything for you, and I felt that that was kind of contradictory in that sense. I was kind of confused by that. But yeah, aside from the semi-rush character development or underdevelopment, I felt that the rest of the story played out pretty good for what it had to, for what they were doing, what they were trying to do. It literally was, they literally go through the first game, and you don't even notice how long it takes. The movie is about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and I actually didn't notice it. It actually went by pretty fast. The pacing is really good. Some of the backstory, again, can be kind of confusing because of the some of the ways that they rush through some stuff. So you might have to watch it twice, especially if you haven't played the game. But other than that, pretty satisfactory, I think. The court scenes, obviously, they make this movie because that's where majority of the game takes place anyway. The court scenes, and yeah, the court scenes are badass, especially when you see for the first time when Miles Edgeworth snaps his finger and that thing comes out. Oh man, if you see, I don't know if it's in the trailers. It might be in the trailers already, but I didn't see the trailers. And if you haven't seen the trailers yet, don't spoil it for yourself if you're gonna see this movie, because when that thing comes down, I was like, damn, that is pretty cool. That was pretty badass. And yeah, it really adds to the drama of the movie, I think. And yeah, the court scenes are just it's just so funny to see them, be like, objection, and then stuff goes flying or whatever. And I won't say anymore. I don't want to spoil it, but it adds to the drama of the whole thing, and you could tell that the movie's taking itself seriously, and yet it's not. Again, trying to play to both the fan base and the general audience. And overall, I think it succeeded in that sense. The score for the movie, I know most of the music in the movie was original. Pretty much most of it was from the it was an original soundtrack that was made just for the movie. And I know there was some remixes from like the game, but it sounds totally different, obviously, because like I said, the undertone of the movie is a lot more serious, a lot darker. So it's a lot more orchestral and very uh dramatic and slow, low music. And at times it can be very intense music, but it's definitely not the style of music that you would expect if you were, playing the game and then you watch the movie. It'd be two totally different things. So yeah, so that's that. Other than that, the ending, without spoiling too much, the ending was all right. I felt it was just all right. Again, if you played the games, you kind of already spoiled it for yourself anyway. But that's why we watch these movies. We watch these movies because we played the games or we watched the anime or whatever, and we just want to see it all reacted out in front of us. So it's part of the fun of these kind of movies. Overall, I think the movie was a good movie, and it was basically as close to being an anime without being an anime. If you can understand that, they really wanted to appeal to the masses, but they really wanted to stay loyal to the game and the fans, which is why, again, I said they really went over the top with like some of the action scenes in the courtroom and the appearance of the characters and stuff like that, and other things. Overall, I felt it was a great watch, definitely worth it. I don't know if I would watch it over and over, but it's just something that it's definitely something that I would enjoy watching every now and then. I hope they make more. Definitely, they definitely should make more because I want to see some of the other characters and stuff like that. So, and especially since they're going, from the first game, there's so many other games in the Phoenix Wright series already that they could definitely do this again, and I would definitely watch it. I highly recommend that you check it out as well. And yeah, so that's my take on the Phoenix Wright live action 2012 movie. Hope you enjoyed this review, and this is my first time doing it. I'm gonna try to do another one on the Rurouni Kenshin live action movie as soon as it's fully subbed. Oh, that's another thing. As far as the subs are for this movie, since it came out on DVD recently and just got ripped to the internet not too long ago. The subs are a little weak, but for what it's worth, they explain enough of what they're saying for you to understand what's going on. Sometimes they layer the subs a little weird, so it's hard to read. And sometimes they can't. Sometimes there's just little parts where they're like they don't know what they're saying, so they just leave it blank, and you just have to wait for a couple seconds. But most of it is translated pretty well. I like how the people that subbed it went out of their way to call them by their English names in the subs, and not like everyone knows that Phoenix Wright's Japanese name is Naruhodo, and but they still sub it as Phoenix Wright or Mr. Wright. So props to them for going the extra mile for that. But yeah, there are the subs may not be the best, but I think it's still watchable. And definitely, if you wait like a week or so, there will definitely be a stronger subs, probably by an official group or something like that. So yeah, that's this review. Hope you liked it. Comment, like, subscribe. If you have any tips for my reviews in the future, let me know. And this is DarkM, and I'll see you next time. Take it easy.